And I just in general think the combat is probably the biggest strength of Lost Ark, because there's a certain visceralness of the Diablo 3 combat that makes it in some ways still compelling. You know, obviously I don't really play Diablo 3 anymore, but if I was going to, that would be one of the main reasons why. And I can feel that same thing in Lost Ark. I think also just, you know, to wrap that up, TLDR, combat is fucking awesome. I really, really like the combat in Lost Ark, and I've been hearing the same thing from almost everyone. So the next thing I want to talk about is the story. Now, the story is, it is a story. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. And there are things that happen in that story, and some of those things are climactic. You could even call it a story. That's about it. It's just, in my opinion, it's about as good as the Diablo story, Diablo 3. It's pulp fiction. It has some interesting characters, Carmine, Father Armin, and I haven't finished all of the little quest lines and everything like that, but as I said, I've played through, at least probably 50 hours, 40 hours of it. I think that, you've pretty much got an idea of what's going on. This is not Heaven's Word, okay? It's not. But it's also not Shadowlands. And that's pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, at this point, we'll fucking take it. The story is passable. It's okay. It can be entertaining. There are really, really cool parts in the story. I love how the story integrates the isometric camera angle, and it rotates it a lot. I feel like there's a lot of people that don't want to play Lost Ark because of the isometric camera angle, and I felt the same way about Diablo 3 because I never played Diablo 2, so it was my first game that I played that was isometric in that regard. And I thought I wouldn't like it, and I started playing it, and after a couple of hours, that's all I wanted to do was play it. So I feel like click to move is definitely a learning curve for a lot of people. For me, I've played Diablo 3, I've played Path of Exile for collectively thousands of hours. So there was really no transition problem there for me. But I would say if you're an MMO player and that's something that's holding you back, try to give the game 5 hours. Give the game 5 hours, see how you feel, and then decide after that. And there's a good feeling, there's a good chance. By the way, at the end of that 5 hours, you say, I didn't like it, I knew I wouldn't like it, fuck you Asmongold, you wasted my time. But hey, at least you tried. And so that's what I would probably say to anybody who's like a little bit more on the fence about the isometric camera angle, is that they rotate it around, and especially in like the siege that they have, this is like maybe like about halfway through the story, the main story leading up to the Chaos Gates, at least to that point, that's where I'm at. That part of the story, like you're changing camera angle all the time, your character is seamlessly integrated not only into cinematics but in and out of cinematics. It's just incredibly well done. You think about like what is the best experience that an isometric camera angle can deliver, an isometric game can deliver, and I feel like Lost Ark delivers that experience. It absolutely does. However, I do wish it was free look. But, the next best thing is the best isometric camera that we've ever seen, or at least I've ever seen. So anyway, that's a huge positive to me. And also, I think that it allows them to kind of balance and control a lot more things much more tightly than a game like New World or a game like, World of Warcraft, for example, in terms of the way that it's shown on the screen. So there's all these little objectives around in the game, and I think like basically if you're playing, like the experience that I had playing Lost Ark is probably the exact same as somebody's experience playing Path of Exile for the first time today. You accidentally hit a key on your keyboard and you accidentally discover 2,000 hours worth of content that is, let's be honest, a fucking grind. But it is, things that you can do in the game. And it has like a minor effect on your character, and it can, do like a 5% more damage to demons or something like that with the cards, for example. But just overall, you have like all these different systems that build on each other. And because of that, I think that it's very appealing to people in that regard. And also, the mindless grinding and mindless farming, I think, is appealing in its own way. It has gathering that's a lot the same as like games like a RuneScape, right? Isometric camera angle gathering is, it is what it is, right? And you have like all these little different things that you can do as a player, and I think because of that, that's what really gets people engaged with the game, and that's what keeps them playing it, is that the developers are trying to create different ways to play the game, which is a huge reason why I think World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV are so successful, is that whenever you can log on and play Final Fantasy XIV or World of Warcraft completely different than somebody else. Somebody can log on and be a, just for example, a balding mount farmer, or they can log on and be a mythic raider, or they can log on and be a PvPer, or they can log on and be a role player. And those 4 different ways of playing the game are just so radically different that the only thing that they have in common is that they're playing the same game. That's literally it. And I think that Lost Ark tries to emulate that in a pretty good regard. It has a castle system that you can make, like garrisons or player housing that you have a lot of time that you can invest into. And again, like a lot of these things do have mobile game mechanics built into them, so I don't really know like what the longevity for me enjoying these things are going to be. And that's what, I'll probably make a full review video in maybe like a month or 2 months or so, once I've really had a chance to interface with all the systems sufficiently to where I feel confident to talk about them. And you guys can look forward to that, but that's not going to happen yet. Again, first impressions is it seems passable, but I can easily see that there is a huge mindless grind. And anyway, I think that just overall, Lost Ark was a breath of fresh air for a lot of people who were maybe burned by New World. They'd finished Final Fantasy Endwalker at this point. They're waiting on 9.2 and WoW, and there's just nothing else really going on. This cool, new, quirky Korean MMO comes out with like isometric camera angle. All the females are really hot. It's like, you know what? Let's try it out, see how it's gonna go. And I feel like that's why we see so many people playing the game. The story's okay, the combat's phenomenal, the end game is, again, it's pretty grindy, but one of the good things about the end game, this is something I really miss with WoW, is that in order to get to tier 3, you have to do tier 2. And I like how it builds on each other, and it creates a lot of levels that you have to go through in the end game, rather than you just start at, floor 9, you have to go to floor 10, and 8 through 1 just don't matter at all. So I'm really glad that Lost Ark doesn't really have that problem. Of course, they do have some catch-up mechanisms built into it because it released with Tier 3. But overall, I think that the experience for a lot of people is going to be much more, it's going to have much more longevity than something like in World of Warcraft right now, for example, unless you count in farming shards of domination. So anyway, I think that just in general, the game, it's very alt-friendly as well. You can do a lot of things on your alts. You're even encouraged to play your alts, maybe too much, but it's, it depends, right? I mean, it depends on if that's the way you like playing a game or not, and how much you want to min-max. I just play a Berserker. Why would I need to play anything else? However, I meant like a Gunlancer and a Paladin, but I don't really see myself playing any other classes besides that. But we'll see what happens. Again, we'll see what happens. So anyway, again, the game's had a lot of success in other regions. Obviously, this game does have some pay-to-win mechanics that do give a lot of Western players trepidation, and I respect that, and I share that trepidation as well. And I'll review the game and try to give it the most honest shake as possible whenever I'm able to learn everything about the systems. But right now, I'll tell you guys the truth. For the last month or so, or last week or so, I mean to say, I've logged on to my stream. I've looked forward to it every single fucking day, except for today, because I haven't gotten enough sleep for a few days. I needed to oversleep today. But I did get a chance to, I get to just play it all the other days. I've looked forward to it. I've been excited about it. I love the goofiness. I love the quirkiness. I love the combat. And, I think it's just in general a fun game to play. And it's a free-to-play game, too. So if it's something you're interested in, I'd say play it. If it's not, I'd say fuck it. So that's about all I've really got to say. And in general, it's a pleasant surprise. I wouldn't actually even really say surprise. I was expecting it to be good because it already has proven success. But again, Western markets are different. So we'll see how it evolves. And, I'll come back to this in a couple of months. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace.